Niels, it's a pleasure to meet you and host you to my little tech talk podcast at LEOCODE. And I'm super happy to have you here because, first of all, you are from Copenhagen, Denmark, my lovely city. Secondly, you are into the software development space where I'm as well, and we at LEOCODE contribute. And I would love to ask you a few questions about the IT landscape, but also about Denmark, Copenhagen, maybe IT shortage of talented software engineers. But first of all, could you just introduce yourself? What do you currently do, and how is it connected to software development?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks for reaching out. Happy to share. So to not make it too boring because I'm not that interesting, I think, but I'll make a short introduction, right? So basically, my background was in finance, like when I started studying, and just not to bore you too much with that. Then I kind of figured out that as I was wanting to be an accountant, that I could automate a lot of these things that I was doing manually. So basically, I kind of figured out that software development was my thing. So basically, I've been studying software development ever since, and I've been teaching courses at the university as well. I have been studying computer science and software security. So I've been building all kinds of, everything from web applications to mobile to IoT projects, even soldering my own sensors, hacking bank accounts, websites, whatever, you name it. I think I've tried most things. So previously, I've been building a few companies, tech related, all of them. So I'm familiar with hiring in Denmark and what is the challenges here, and also have been working with remote teams before. So and I think we might share a common friend, Jarek, as well. So yeah, I think just to keep it short, I think that's the introduction.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I've met Jarek a few times. We've been even doing some stuff with him as a software team. But we can discuss after the interview maybe.
Yep.
So what do you currently do as an external brains? Because on your LinkedIn, there's the statement, external brains. I provide software developers. I'm just curious about how does that work? Do you have them from Denmark or outside of Denmark? You mentioned that both, but I'm just curious about maybe what's the ratio, the portion of developers you are working with currently from Denmark and outside of Denmark. Could you elaborate on that? How do you define external brains, and where does it come from?
So actually, the external brains part is more like a way of how we see product development. So it's kind of building this external brain. So basically, it's just alleviating your own brain. So like put it in a system that will take care of it, and you don't have to worry about it. But the same way it can apply to like your team, right? So your team can sit anywhere in the world. And I've been dispatching teams in Pakistan, in India. We have a few people also tried out with Eastern Europe, so Poland. Now I'm not sure Albania classifies, but Albania as well.
Yes, yeah.
And Lithuania. So I've usually find also that a lot of the Eastern European countries are very strong in the technical side, which I find nice, and they're somewhat closer. At least my experience from the ones I work with in Pakistan, for example, the cultural differences is also smaller, which makes it just faster to adapt.
Okay, so what's the biggest difference in the culture? I'm curious about your observation and opinion.
So this is obviously just my experience, right? But I feel so my perspective on this is like at least I think it's mainly like how the educational system is structured. So in Denmark, for example, there's a lot encouraged to like kind of discuss things a lot and work in groups and work in teams. It's less concerned about if the facts are 100% correct, whereas and also the hierarchy in companies are usually fairly fluid compared to, we would say, Pakistan, India, at least in my experience with people there. And then in some Eastern European people I've worked with, that the structure of like the hierarchy is also a bit more present, but there is the kind of way of working is a bit more questioning the solution and not just thinking about the solution only, but also want to understand the problem, which I find very important in engineering, at least for solving the root of the problem. just to understand it.
Just coding can lead you to the blind alley. So
Exactly.
I guess that's the case. And how big is the shortage of IT people in Denmark currently? Do you have some numbers, or at least do you know something about it?
I don't have any like specific numbers, I think, but I know that a lot of companies and even our own. So what I'm doing right now is this company called Anna. We try to build tech for the restaurant industry. And we have been searching for a developer here for a year, which is not possible either because like I think the main problem is like one thing is the talent, like the limited amount of talent, and a lot of people here culturally. I feel now I hope I don't offend any Danish people, but people are wants to be very comfortable here. So they like a fat paycheck, and then they can go home at 4 to their family or whatever or friends, drink a beer or a coffee or whatever, like and chill. And that's for me.
Isn't that hygge?
Exactly. Lighting some candles and whatever. Exactly. So I think that's one of the issues, especially if you're like a startup wanting to start a company. Though I would say starting the whole company up and so on is super straightforward in Denmark. Like you can do it online basically, right? So getting started, but like finding the talent here as well, it's kind of hard.
Okay. Did the pandemic change the way people from Denmark cooperate with external brains? Like, are they more open? Because right now, most of the people, they work remotely. So, of course, the advantage of having someone in place is kind of disappearing. Of course, you still have the people in your own culture and the same language. Yet, you might consider working with guys, as you mentioned, Lithuania, Romania, Albania, Poland, or other countries. Do you see this shift for the last year, or nothing actually has changed?
I think it has changed. I don't know necessarily it's because of the tech itself, but I feel like a lot of people just looking to all the options that there is. So it's more open in general to everything. I was, for example, discussing on Friday with another few people in the tech restaurant tech industry. They were also looking for people as developers, and usually, I don't know, you're probably familiar with all the technologies, but like they use .NET Core and these kind of technologies, which I find that a lot of Danish companies like consultancies use. I don't know how much it's used everywhere else, to be honest. But they had a lot of trouble finding them here. And the second part was they were a bit scared because they had a bad experience with remote workers before. And I think, yeah, it's kind of hard to say like one place is better than another and one way is better than another. But like if you sit in a company and you have no tech people to manage it, like people who understand tech, it's kind of hard to manage a remote tech team, I think.
Okay, so what's the biggest challenge in because you've touched the interesting topic, which is managing external software developers who are not in your culture, of course. So there will be some discrepancies, there will be some conflicts for sure, or misunderstandings. So from your experience dealing with different companies and developers, what is the most challenging part? Let's say you have the client from Denmark, you have software developers from Ukraine or Poland. And what do you find most challenging? Let's say they agree on cooperation somehow. They see the profiles, there was some interview, and they say, okay, these guys, this team of 4 people seems suitable. What can happen next? The bad things.
Again, a lot of bad things, because it's also sometimes it's kind of harder to assess someone who is not sitting next to you and you're not working with them all the time. I've seen people do all kinds of crazy things where they have all the remote people physically on screens all day in their office, so they kind of feel like they are there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
crazy. Truman Show.
Exactly. The human iPad, so they can drive around and stuff. No, but I think one of the main challenges is the communication and like aligning on like being more aware that some things can easily slip because you don't sit next to each other. Like, for example, I will sit next to the developer here and I will discuss something and then everyone else in the team doesn't know. So one of the things we tried out as well, because we also have people who are not used to remote teams, right? In our team, people who are working previously in the restaurant industry, that's kind of hard to do remote. At least as far as I know. But when the pandemic like kind of hit, then we kind of decided everyone go home. Then we started introducing some things like a high buy channel on Slack, so it's easier to figure out who's available when and so on. So you don't sit and wait for reach, because the asynchronous part is kind of a hard thing, right? If you're not used to it. And then you need strong communication skills, I think, both written and like on a call, to be able to express what you're thinking. I think that's at least the main challenges I have had with that. And then there are some slight cultural differences, but it's not too much, I think, at least not from Denmark to Eastern Europe countries.
Okay.
I think.
Because from my experience, that the miscommunication leads to unwanted features, unwanted bugs, and I guess there will be always some delays or deadlines are not met because someone didn't understand everything correctly or assumed. I mean, I see it quite often in development teams that I assume that it should be done this way. The question from my side is always like, why haven't you asked? Why haven't you confirmed? It seemed obvious to me. I said, but to you, not for the client maybe, or for the product owner. So, and I know from working with Danes that they love this communication, asking 3-4 times just to make sure that we are on the same page, because proper communication, proper planning will save us a lot of work in the future. So it can be very valuable for the whole team. Plus, communication somehow creates the trust and creates this connection which we don't have. Like we supposed to fly to Copenhagen with our team last year twice. It didn't happen. So it's still like a remote love. Yet I hope it will happen this year. We will see how will the restriction look like. It's a bit unpredictable for all of us. But how do you see the perspective for the IT market? Let's say for the upcoming year, nothing has changed. We have the vaccine, but still it has to be distributed. I guess there will be new restrictions, so it just won't open like that all doors. Everyone will be a bit skeptic also between countries, because there are different restrictions, different countries. So people are a bit skeptic that they don't follow the same rules. So how do you see the landscape for IT software development, this remote one in 2021 between Denmark and other countries?
I think to be honest, I think like the tech industry is a bit in luck, because we all just happy nerds who are happy to sit in our basement and work. So I think at least I hope so. That I don't hope it will be affected that much. I feel like people will get used to this kind of remote way of working more. And even what we did was like, we kind of wanted to hire someone specific in Denmark. We tried that for a while, didn't work. And then even now with the pandemic and everything, it's even harder to find someone, but like you cannot pull them in for an interview. Like, yeah, you can still do like a video call, right? But we just kind of agreed that we are gonna look for, now it doesn't really matter where people are, as long as we are somewhat in the same time zone, like plus minus 2 hours, we will work with that. So I for us in like specific, I feel like it's more like a kind of indirect impact on the IT part, because I feel like the IT world has been used to this kind of remote work all the time. But now, for example, for us, like even though the Corona thing has been bad, like for restaurants specifically that cannot be open except for the takeaway, right? And when we are dealing with staffing, for example, right now, so they have obviously less to do. But the good thing out of all this, because we all just entrepreneurs try all to see the opportunity, right? So it just shows that now the restaurant industry is forced to digitize faster, which means they will adopt more tech, they will adopt more solutions where they are not reliant on being present in the restaurant necessarily, and all these kind of things. So I think for us, that is a good thing that has come out of this, that they realized, oh shit, we need to do something about it.
Yeah, that was my next question, actually, maybe the last one. Haven't you noticed that digitalization, that it boomed? Because from one side, I've seen that some companies, of course, from the industries like events industries or travel industries, they had issues and they had to stop some projects in the middle of development because of uncertainty and huge expenses. On the other hand, we have so many other companies that see that if they want to stay on the market, they need to adapt to the internet reality to connect to their audience. And it works both in software development, but also in marketing, as you use different channels to trigger your audience. Like if you are a shoe company, shops are closed, shopping centers, you have to have huge e-commerce store with logistic, everything that delivers great user experience to stay alive, stay on the market. And have you seen some huge